again, as always, I really do appreciate you taking time from your day to spend it with me. Working on the hips and the backs of the legs as a kind of bonus. Just because of what we do to get into the hips, we will find the backs and the legs first. So the hamstrings, very beneficial. Hip opening can be quite a challenge for many people. So we'll do some nice hip circles. We'll try and find space in our hip sockets. So if you remember that the pelvis has a kind of a bowl shape here, that the tops of the thigh bones, the ball, the head of the femur, the thigh bone here, fits into, and that ball kind of rolls around inside that space. And this space here can get quite tight, the ligaments can be really stiff and not malleable at all and very resistant to movement, so that can really affect your mobility here. Also your natural tendencies to whether you find it easy to turn your bones away from the body to roll them out, or whether you've got more of a tendency to roll in. All of that will affect what you do on your mat. So it's about finding the sensation today, so just feeling your way into your own hips. Alright, so that's what I'm going to do. But first of all, we're just going to stand on our mat, so just make your way to your mat if you're sitting down. And we'll just work with a little bit of just energy, just bringing the energy down towards the hip joints themselves. So sort of right next to the lower energy centre, or the lower dantian here. And so we'll just work with that space. So we'll start by feet slightly wider than sort of directly under your hips, and a soft knee. And it's kind of like your knee joint sigh. Ha. So that's our start position. And your arms have a little bit of a wiggle. Your arms are really relaxed, but they're naturally sort of away from the body, almost as if you had little balloons in your armpits, sort of holding your arms in this place. Good. So as we breathe in, we're going to bring us more of a straight feel to the legs. Take the arms out and up as if you're scooping energy up in your hands. You can take your gaze up to your hands if you like. And as you breathe out, just bring your hands and that energy back down. And then draw your hands into that energy centre we spoke about right at the beginning. Just let your hands rest there for a second. Knees are soft again. So as you inhale, knees are more straight, arms out and up. Sometimes it's a real kind of an obvious sensation of something that's beginning to happen between the palms of your hands. And again. Good. We'll do that one more time. Absolutely no rush. Everything's kind of relaxed and easy. Good. Now from here, stay standing on your mat. Feet just again about the same distance they were. Keep the knees soft. And we're thinking of the spine circling around now. So the hips are going to stay still. You'll bring your spine over to the left, forwards to the right, and back. Nice, kind of a fluid movement here, so a continuous movement of the body and the energy in and around the body. Next time you come forwards, you'll reverse, so you'll go around to the left and back, to the right and forwards. So these are nice little warm-ups for the hips as well, so as we are going to be focusing on those today. Come back to the centre, straighten the legs, and this time it's the kind of spine that stays still, but the hips move. So if you imagine your hips swinging around the bottom of your spine. So straight legs, and then change. Good. So really getting into that area I mentioned earlier, and also the outside of that space as well. Come back to the centre. So if you bring your feet and your knees together, this is less the hips but more the knees, but we just want warmth in the knee joints as well. So bring your hands to your thighs and sort of sit down as low as you can, just to ease out the backs of the legs here and the heels, and then come back up. So we're going to circle, take the knees around to the right, forwards and back. Sorry, round to the left, forwards to the right and back. So this is quite a challenging movement. Good. Change direction. Good. Just do one more. And then we're just going to stand tall again. Feet slightly wider than under the hips. Soften the knees. Just let your arms hang again with those imaginary balloons in your armpit. Close your eyes for a moment, or find a soft focus, your gaze in about 6 to 10 foot in forwards, in front of you and down. Well done. So now we're going to come down onto all fours. So we're going to go back to the idea of circling the hips. So just let them start to gently roll from side to side, and you can let your shoulders join in. Just find all the movement you can with this little rotation. Change direction. And before we go a little deeper, I'll turn to face you. Bring your knees together and take your hands a little bit wider than shoulder width. And with that in mind, support yourself on your right hand. Just let your hips drop over towards the right. Try not to collapse down, so keeping that arm nice and strong, but have awareness of your left hand pressing. And then the same thing again on the other side. So knees are still together, switching your attention to your left hand, letting the hips go. I don't know whether you can hear the weather here. It's quite stormy. Come back to the centre. Now with that same sort of hand position, hands slightly wider, we're going to keep the knees together and a little bit further back. So we're going to sit back towards the heels, float the hips over to the left and forwards, almost like supported upward dog, around to the right and back towards the heels. Please don't be afraid to let your shoulders be mobile, so they don't have to be stuck. Take your time. If you find anywhere that's a little bit stuck, change direction. You can kind of hover in that place, move through it when you feel it's appropriate for you to do that. One more. Good. And then when you're ready, just come to a child's pose. And whilst you're in child's pose, just let your hips sway from side to side. So we're going to do pigeon pose straight away. So return it to your hands and knees. We're going to bring the right knee towards the left knee, towards the inside of the left wrist. But I'd like you to start in more of a sort of softer place. So back knee is also going to bend, so you're going to sit down on the outside of your left hip. So you've probably turned around to the right. So if you can square your shoulders to a more forward-facing position, you're just going to let the body come down over this front leg. So you may find you're still quite high up, or you've come down onto your forearms. to your hands and now press up so your back leg goes straight back behind you. Tuck your toes and see if you can walk that foot and knee a bit further back. Then settle down and make your way down. So your way down might be just your hands forward ever so slightly, or you may come down onto your forearms. And if you could just, you may already be aware of sensations here, but draw your attention to the outside of your right hip, your left hip, sorry, and maybe your left groin, maybe the front of your right hip and right thigh. Good. And coming back up to your hands, step back, hands and knees, really loose downward dog, pedaling the heels, no pushing here, just let everything start to soften and open. Then release your knees to your mat. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So this time, right knee towards inside of right wrist. So your left leg bends so you can sit down onto the outside of your right hip. Okay, that's most doable for most people. If you find this a bit of a challenge, you can prop. If your left hip is with right hip, sorry, I'm mirroring you, it's finding it a challenge to get down, you can pop a little padding under yourself there, either roll your mat up or grab a blanket. So we're going to square the shoulders with this back leg bent. We're going to make our way from our start position, which is usually high but not too high, to maybe onto the forearms, or maybe just walking your hands a little bit further forwards. Focusing on the outside of the hip on that front leg, maybe the hip crease. And we transition to the more classic shape. So hands come back towards you, so you can press off that hip. Walk your other foot back, walk your knee back. And then settle down. Once again, you can have padding under the right hip if you find that you're tipping over. Maybe coming down onto the forearms. It's quite nice to sort of, rather than think flexing the foot on the right leg, you think of pulling the toes back, like you're trying to press the ball of the foot forwards. That's a good protective mechanism for the knee. A few more breaths. And then as we did on the other side, we're going to make our way to child's pose. Take your time. Maybe this time knees a little wider, big toes touching. So you sit back towards the heels. And then downward dog. So hands and knees, tuck your toes. Get to downward dog. Still think of a loose downward dog, so nothing forced. This time we'll bend the right leg and press the heel of the straight leg, the left leg, towards or into the mat. Relax that right hip, kind of let it melt down towards the floor, so you've got a real good bend in that right leg. So you should be developing a sensation on the back of the straight leg here. And the other side. Switch sides. Nice deep bend in that left leg. You can even let the left shoulder melt towards the floor. So it's kind of one side of your body leaning down a little bit more than the other. And then come back to downward dog. Take a breath in downward dog. Then look forwards. And either on your in-breath or your out-breath, your choice, step your left foot to the inside of your left hand and pop your right knee down. Good, so we'll just circle the hips again from this place. So again, it's about not expecting or needing to be sort of rigid. So for me, I need to kind of move my left hand out of the way to get that nice movement. So you can always put your left hand on the floor on the inside of the foot, change direction. So really get in there, take your time. And then we come back to being in our lunge and we press away through the right heel. So as you inhale, press the right heel back, extend your chest forwards. As you exhale, just bring that back knee to a hug position. And again, press and hover, press and hover. Good. Now we change. We focus on the front leg. Straighten the front leg, come up onto the heel, rebend the front leg back to your lunge. Good. Straighten and bend. Straighten and bend. We step back to downward dog. Just pedal the heels again, a little bit more tempo. And then we'll do the other side. Inhaling or exhaling, step your right foot forwards. Initially, left knee down. And we do that nice circling. So circle the hip forwards, out to the side and back. And then across to the other side. That's it. Changing direction. Well done. Coming back to your lunge. Good, so your hands are either sides of the foot, about shoulder distance apart. You can be on your fingertips, as always. If you find getting your hands down a real challenge, you can have yoga blocks or bricks under your hands or something similar, as long as it's not going to slip on the floor. So tuck your back toes and push the heel away so the knee comes off the floor. Good. So drop the knee, inhale, exhale, press the heel away and lengthen your chest forwards. And again. Good. And again. Now we switch to the other leg. Straighten the leg onto the heel, return the foot to the mat. Straighten the leg onto the heel, return the foot to the mat. Good, one more. And step to downward dog. Get one breath in downward dog, then exhale your knees all the way to the floor. So still continuing to work with the idea of the top of the thigh bone, this ball moving around as much as we can, and just encouraging our full range of movement to come to this place. So we need a little bit of core support here as we circle the knee out and back. But I'd like you to, although you're moving your knee, it's very easy to focus on the knee. Focus on what's going on in your left hip crease. Alright, so all the sensations you're aware of there. Good, so we're going to bring the left knee forwards towards the chest. I'd like you to work really slowly so you can really control. Take the knee out to the side. Now use your core muscles here to make sure that your hips don't start to spin open to the left. Take the knee behind you, back, forwards and through. So really firm up through your hands and notice how much your tummy has to work to stop you tipping over. It's a kind of a cheat really. Your body wants to naturally open so you can lift your knee higher. But don't worry about the height of your knee, just a sensation in that groin there, in that hip crease. Change direction. So take the knee back. Good. Just 3. Keep those shoulders as square as you can. Last 1. Well done. Stretch the leg out behind. Keep the toes down. Just waggle the heel. Pop the knee down. Just sit on your heels for a moment. Knees a tiny bit wide. And see if you can just notice or appreciate the difference between a more open left side compared to a slightly less open right side. So, same thing on the other side. Brilliant. So here we go. So firming up through your hands. Your hands are quite important here. So as you take the knee out, Your tendency might be to collapse in that left arm, so firm up through your left hand. Bring the right knee forwards. As you take the knee out to the side, slow it right down so you can stabilise the pelvis. So you're really just working that thigh bone, the top of the thigh bone, around in the sort of hollow socket area. And change. So 3 one way. And 3 the other. Well done, last one. Good, this time we're going to go to a wide leg downward dog. You can stretch your right leg off, shake it off behind you once you've got there. So we're going to reach down through the heels, reach down through the calf muscles, firming up through the hands and feet, like you're trying to press your feet down and make a sort of mould shape of your feet and hands in the floor. Good. Then from the back of your mat, either as you are, or lift the left leg up and step your left foot to the outside of your left hand. Right knee comes down. Good. We're going to spin the left foot and knee out a little bit to the left. Left hand to inside of left knee. Gently press the knee away as you spin your chest to the left. Maybe look up. Relax, try not to scrunch your shoulders, so release that top shoulder back and down. The hand that's on the floor is always supporting you, so it's as if you're trying to push yourself away from the floor with your hand. Good. Then we come back to the forward facing position, left hand onto the floor now, and square up the left foot and the left knee so they're facing forwards. And press as much as you can your left knee to the outside of your left upper arm. Take your hands maybe just a hand width further forward, a palm's length. That might be okay for you. Tuck your back toes. Good. Walk your foot a little bit further back. Maybe come down onto the forearms and keep that knee pressing in. Try and think of the chest leaning forwards rather than rounding through your upper back. And then option to press away through that back heel so the knee comes off the floor. Keep that left knee squeezing in towards that left arm. Well done. One more breath. And then we're going to bring the hand to the floor and step back. Yikes. To downward dog. Well done. And we're going to circle the knee here like we did a moment ago on hands and knees. So feel free to go back to your hands and knees. So kick your left heel in towards your left bum cheek. Good. Now as you bring the knee forward, it's like you're sort of in a sort of one-legged plank position. Then you take it out to the side as you go back and up. Release that right heel to the mat. Good. And again, circle, out, back and up. One more. Change direction. Bit more of a challenge, going back. Just the 3. Should be feeling that now. Well aware of that hip. Stretch the leg up and pop the foot down. Go back to that slightly wider downward dog. Either both feet down or inhale your right leg up and step your right foot to the outside of your right hand. Pop the left knee down. Turn your right foot and right knee out a little bit. So it doesn't have to go as far as it can go, just enough to give that slight roll of your thigh bone outwards. Support yourself on your left hand. Right hand to inside of right knee. Spin your chest to the right. Look up. Enjoy. And then we come back to the hands down, walk that left foot in a little, right foot in a little bit, square it up. Good. And squeeze the knee into the upper right arm. Tuck the back toes under and walk that foot and knee a little bit further back. So you might feel this in many different places, perhaps over the front of this back leg, maybe underneath the back of the front leg. So you can stay high, you can go a little bit lower, or you can perhaps come down onto the forearms. You'll take a few breaths here, you'll lengthen the chest forward. You notice how that develops awareness of this bent right leg. And maybe tuck the left toes and push the heel away. And keep smiling. Try to avoid rounding. Okay, keep those shoulder blades moving towards each other. And then coming back and up to downward dog, which might be a challenge in itself. Via hands and knees is absolutely fine. And then we'll do that nice little circle on the other side. So you'll kick your right bum cheek with your right heel. So you bring the knee forwards as if you're trying to touch your chest, but you'll also let your shoulders come forwards over your wrists, so it's a bit like sort of plank. Then you take the knee out to the side, back and up. Turn to your three-legged dog. Good, so you do 3 of those. And then you reverse. Keep those hands and arms really strong. Use your core support. Last one. Stretch that leg up and out. Pop the foot down. Release the knees. You'll probably spontaneously go to exactly the right knee position, whether they're very wide or less wide. And then you'll just find your place on your mat. And you go back to that little shimmy of the hips from side to side. Come back to the centre of your mat. So actually what we've done now is we've really primed the hip joints as well for postures like Warrior 1 and Warrior 2. Sometimes they can be used as hip priming postures, which is brilliant. But if you prime your hips first and then you move to those postures afterwards, you can sometimes feel an ease to the posture that you don't normally appreciate. So we'll do that now that we've done nice things with our hips. Well, nice things with our hips. So hands and knees, tuck your toes, downward dog. Either feet together, lift the left leg as you inhale, or both feet down. And step your left foot to the inside of your left hand and spin your right heel down on the back of your mat. Nice bend on this front leg. Walk your hands up your left thigh. Firm up through your right foot. Really press down and see if you can just get your body to float a little bit more forward facing. Because we've done what we've done with the hips and the backs of the legs, sneaky got that in without you noticing, you may find your body's a little bit more able to turn a bit more forwards. It doesn't have to be square, but many people always find that there's always a sideways tendency, so you may be a bit less sideways. Good. So we'll just take a moment here, and then we'll take the arms out and up. We'll do that little energy thing again with the arms. So breathe in, arms out and up, gather up the chi, the energy, and exhale, draw it down. Imagine, just bring your hands around the back of your head, and then around over the chest, all the way down, and let's just go behind the back of the hips. And we'll sweep the arms forwards and up this time. And finish in Warrior 1. Take a few breaths here. And then look down. Release your hands forwards and down or out and down. Release the back here once your hands touch your mat. Step back to downward dog. So let's just find stillness in downward dog for a moment. We'll breathe in and we'll breathe out. Even little postures, which some of you might find challenging. Downward dog, for example, they become a bit less challenging when the backs of the legs start to lengthen and soften and the hips release, holding. Good, so feet together or not, inhale your right leg up or not, and step your right foot to the inside of your right hand. Back heel, so you spin on the ball of the back foot, back heel touches down. Walk your hands up your right thigh. Firm up through your left foot, so it's quite nice to bend the knee and then push the floor away with that foot. And then see if you found that your body sort of just floats a little bit more. So rather than you having to say, oh, please go a bit more, please go a bit more, your body just finds its way there. Let's do that little movement of chi and chi awareness as you inhale. Gather the chi up in the palms of the hands, the energy. Exhale, bring it down. Behind the back of the head, maybe the neck, the shoulders, to the chest, and down. And then we scoop forwards and up. Inhale, and finishing your expression of warrior one. So we desperately do our best sometimes to be strong and to hold a pose. Put my hands on my head while I'm chatting to you. That in itself can bring the opposite reaction from your body. So we need to relax to be able to be strong. So it may be counterintuitive, but wherever you are, just kind of sigh away from that place and see if that helps you go a little bit deeper. Good. Exhale your hands forwards or out and down. Release the back heel, step back, downward dog. One breath here. And when you're ready, walk your feet and your hands towards each other. Inhale, hands onto the shins. Exhale, fold. Maybe soften the knees a little bit. And again. Soften the knees a little bit. Inhale. And exhale. This time as you inhale, press the floor away and slowly come up to stand on your mat. Good, so you'll need your mat side to side because we're going to step the feet wide. So let's do that now. We'll get a little bit of a hippie thing going on here, as in hip movement, not in Peace Man. Although you can feel free to go there if you want to. So we're going to do what I call the Tom Jones, the Elvis Presley, or any younger people out there that have somebody they know that does this type of hip movement. So we're consciously rolling the pelvic bowl now forwards. So imagine you're circling your pelvis around your tailbone and then change direction. Go for it. And then we do forwards and backwards. Forwards and backwards, side to side, to side, to side. Straighten the legs, inhale. Exhale, square up your feet. Interlink your hands behind you, coming forwards. Allow the weight to transition more into the front of the foot, so you'll find that a little bit more of a challenge. Try not to claw your mat with your toes. Notice the sensation on the back of your legs. Once you've reached your most forward position, let the arms float out to the side and all the way down to either the floor or your legs somewhere. If they're on the floor, either toes and fingers in line, or if you go a little deeper, walk your hands back a little bit so the heel of your hands are in line with the heels of your feet. Wherever you are as you inhale, come up onto your fingertips. Maybe slide your hands a little higher if they're on your legs. Exhale back, palms down. Hands back down the legs a little bit more. And again. One more. Good. Soften the knees. Hands onto the thighs and press up with your legs bent. Good. So feet just turned out a little bit. So you want the hands to come on the outside of the legs. So you're going to press your hands against your legs and you're going to avoid the legs coming in by pushing your legs back against your hands. Make sure, turn sideways, make sure that your hips are back and your knees are popping forwards over your feet. Alright, so hips back. Good. So let's press and squeeze. It's quite a challenge. One more. And then inhale your arms out and up, straighten your legs. Exhale back where you came from, only this time hands to the inside of the thighs. So it's as if you're trying to press the legs open, but you're using the inner thigh muscles to resist that movement. So push your legs back against your hands, watch your knees aren't coming forwards again. Press, push, squeeze. So it should be a real effort here, so it isn't just kind of a fluffy thing to do. It should be a bit of a challenge, make sure you're not holding your breath. Good. Relax, breathe in. And breathe out. Back to your bent leg position. Walk your feet a little bit wider. Square your toes up a bit more. So we're just going to go from side to side, straightening one leg, other leg bent. And you can walk both hands across, so one hand to the thigh and the other one follows. Okay? Or you can come a little lower, maybe fingertips to the floor. Wherever you are, you're going to think about turning your foot out, but if you imagine you're trying to lay it down on the floor rather than come up onto the heel. So you're just going to target different parts of the leg. So not actively releasing the toes, so lengthening away through the foot. One foot might stay down one side, not the other. Next time you go over to the right, you're going to hang out there. Take a breath, make sure those hips are going back a little bit. And then come to the other side. Well done. Come to the center. Heel toe your feet a little closer, bend the knees, hands to the thighs, make your way up. Good. Warrior two. Turn out the left foot, bend the leg, swing the back heel so it's pointing towards the back corner of the mat. Warrior two, which may feel a little bit more buoyant, a little bit more fluid, particularly in these areas of the body. So you might like to just gently bob up and down. Well, remember the knee alignment on this front leg. We're always, excuse me, that wasn't very gainly, we're always avoiding this. 9 times out of 10, you want to avoid your knee popping beyond your ankle, really. Good, so if you go a little deeper, keep this back foot anchored. And next time you bend the leg, just let the arms float up by the ears. And then release them out in line with the shoulders, shoulders back and down. Turn your gaze to the middle finger of your left hand. Now if you find you're not sure if your shoulders are up or down, then if you turn your palms face up, that again has the same action that we're doing in the leg, kind of rolls the arm bones out, which in turn takes these sort of collarbones down, and then you just flip your hands over. Good, well done. Then inhale, both arms up, straighten your left leg. Exhale, rebend the legs, hands to the thighs, and let's just have that little slightly less intense side-to-side movement. Hips back. Good. Come up, breathe in. Stay up as you breathe out, maybe hands to the heart. Turn out the right foot. Adjust the back heel. Bend the right leg. Check out your knee alignment. Encourage your knee. It doesn't have to be forced because, as I mentioned right at the beginning, depending what your bones naturally do, if they tend to roll in, then there'll be a tendency for your knee to also come in. You're just encouraging it to not collapse in anymore. So if you naturally come into the centre, and there is a little bit of a likelihood that you can twist a little bit more easily. So just have awareness of that knee opening. Good, so we've got that little up and down movement. Nice. Like your slow-mo bobbing up and down on a warm motion that you feel safe on. Could be in a bath if you prefer. A nice warm bath. Settle into your warrior two, maybe go a little deeper. Arms out and up, inhale. Exhale, open to warrior two, gazing at the middle finger of that right hand. Now, as soon as you start to adjust, you may start to lean. So keep your body in the centre, your spine directly in the centre of your pelvis. Maybe palms up to release the shoulders, then down. Soften your gaze, your lower jaw. Just check your tongue isn't jammed in the roof of your mouth. Then inhale, both arms up, both legs straight. Exhale, interlink your hands again. Maybe heel toe the feet a little closer. And just come forwards, just let the hands rest on your back as you do that. Hinging at your hip creases. Just taking the weight into the front of the feet so that it feels like you might tip up. Take care. And then more towards the back of the feet, which is where most people tend to sit. And in this position, they just let the hips go back because it sort of locks everything in place while we're trying to use muscular support rather than just rely on the joints locking us in place. So if you take the weight forwards again, bring your body back to parallel to the floor, navel to spine, hands to the hips, shoulders back and down. Taking the arms out in line with the shoulders. Good. Now just be aware, this is where your hips kind of want to go back. And you'll know when they're going back because everything suddenly seems much more doable. So keep the weight into the ball of the feet. Good. And we're going to just turn to the right. So left hand, if possible, to the floor. If not, to the outside of the right leg. Come back to your T position. And switch sides. And we're also trying to stop the hips swinging around. Now my shoulder on this side doesn't like the arm being up too much, so just take it where it's comfortable. Then back to the centre, bring your hands to your back, soften your body down again. Then just let your arms crumple down towards the floor. Soften your knees and heel toe your feet towards each other. We're going to come down into a squat. So you still want your feet wide. So heel toeing your feet in a little bit more, but not all the way together. Feet and knees turned out. So I'd just like to show you, if you find it a challenge to get your heels down, you can use 2 bricks. And then rather than just having to support yourself on the ball of your feet precariously, and you can support your heels on bricks, or you can roll a blanket up or your yoga mat. So feel free to do that. Just take a moment to get yourself set up. Good, and then we'll come down into our squat. We're going to brace the legs again. So this time we're looking to bring the upper arms to the inner legs. You may find it still quite high up, in which case just bring the sort of elbow forearm area to the inner legs. Wherever you are, rather than kind of what is called melting down, we're going to reach up. Again, you'll notice the sensation develop. So let's just all breathe in, exhale, relax and kind of let go. Notice what disappears. And then inhale, exhale, lengthen. Notice what reappears. We'll hold it here for a breath or two. So pressing the legs firmly against the arms. The arms are pushing strongly back against the legs. Well done. And then we're just going to gently sit back on our mats. Soles of the feet come together. Fingertips to the floor behind. Arms are straight. Take your hands a little bit further back, encouraging the knees to come towards the floor. So I'll turn sideways again. For many people, having their heels close to the lower body is a real challenge, and not just for the hips but for the knees. So you can take your feet forward so it's more of a diamond shape. And if that is way too much for you, then legs in a V shape is absolutely fine, but just turn your feet out slightly so you've got the same kind of movement in the leg, the bones of the leg. Okay, so should be something there for everyone. Release onto the palms of your hands now. Lift your chest. So your chest is lifting up, your knees are pressing down, and you're still smiling. Imagine a smile from your left hip down to your pubic bone and then across to your right hip. Good. Relax. Use your hands to bring your knees up and together. Stretch your legs out, just give them a little swing from side to side. Let's have a little go of wide leg boat pose, Navasana, while we're here. So we're going to go back to that same start position. So if you find cobbler, Baddha Konasana too much, then you can start with your legs bent and wide, and you can hold on to your ankles or the backs of your thighs. All right, so that you're still going to get the benefit of the challenge of lifting the feet and also using your core to support you and balance you. Otherwise, soles of the feet together, holding whatever you need to hold, as long as it's not your breath. Second and third finger around the big toes if you're in the full pose, also the thumbs. Remember that your toes are pulling back against your fingers as much as your fingers are pulling against your toes. A little rock from side to side. And then rather than letting the flesh of the sitting bones go that way, sort of let it slide back underneath you. So there's a little bit of idea of rounding here, but not collapsing here. All right, so it's kind of, from your sitting bones, you go onto the little fleshy shelf behind them. Good. Chest is lifted. So we find our little balance, so we come back and maybe the heels are just lightly resting, chest is lifted, navel centre is engaged, and we release the right lower leg. We come back, and then we release the left lower leg, and we return to the earth with our feet. Good. So perhaps we let both heels hover, and maybe we go both legs bent. Please continue to do single sides if that's better for you. Remember, the toes are just as active as the fingers. If you just let your toes go, you'll lose support. So you can try that. So if you just let your toes be floppy, you'll notice that the legs become less involved. So really push your big toes against your fingers if you've got hold of your toes. And release. Come back up, a little rock from side to side. So you've got the option to do the full pose. If you're holding onto the backs of your legs, you can do one leg straight and then switch or continue with bent legs. Otherwise, here we go. We lean just a bit. We release the heels. Maybe we do the right leg. Maybe we change sides, or maybe we go for both. Get shoulders are back and down. Now we're going to just let go of the feet in a moment, try and hold the legs up, not for long, but just for a second to understand the power of the body, the navel centre, their hip flexors, your psoas muscle, your mind. Good, so start to release, arms out in a T, slowly lower the legs, slowly lower, no clunking down. Good, breathe in, arms up, slide the legs together, and exhale, just fold over your legs. A little bounce of the legs, soft knees, everything's relaxed. And then when you're ready, just spin around and come onto your back. We're going to do happy baby. So just to remind you, if you're not happy doing happy baby in the full posture, we'll all start the same way. I'll talk you through the different stages so you can get the most from the pose from wherever you need to be. So knees come onto the chest. So you hold the backs of the thighs to do that. So The knees might be there, or they may be a little bit further away, but as close as they can be for you. Flex your feet, and then just allow the lower legs to lift, just the lower legs. So from your shin bones down to your feet, just let those lift up. So the soles of the feet are much more upward facing, or maybe they're completely facing up. Then use your hands to pull your knees wider. Okay, so you might be here, and that might be it for you. Try not to let your tailbone curl up. So keep reaching towards the end of your mat with your tailbone. If you want to go a little further, you can hold onto the ankles and draw the knees down. But just like we did in our wide leg boat pose, you can hook your fingers and your thumbs around the toes. Same action with the feet. Wherever you are, you're just going to rock side to side. Just side to side here, gently rocking. Then we come back to the centre. Keep the tailbone long as we encourage the knees to come down. We've got imaginary targets on the floor at the side of our bodies. And we're aiming the knees towards those targets, not necessarily onto the targets. I know it's kind of more doable if everything curls up, but we're kind of losing the areas we're trying to focus on doing that. Well done. So relax your hold on your legs. Let the heels just flop back in towards you. Arms come out in line with the shoulders. And then do this little kind of hip shimmy. Side to side. And then we're just circling the knees without using the hands. Good. And then the knees move away and then come back. So they'll hopefully feel lovely and heavy and soft and just good. And then we come back to the centre. Good. Let's just extend the legs up to the ceiling. And we'll fold the right knee in towards the chest. Keep the left leg up. And slowly lower the left leg down. And just observing, this is kind of an asymmetrical movement. So you've got the left long side and the right short side. So just feel that. Right knee drawing in towards the chest. Left leg extended away. Maybe the sensation of the right groin is the most obvious. And then bring that left knee in and switch. Good. Now bring the right knee in. Let's hug the knees in and curl up as we exhale. Inhale, lay yourself down. Exhale, curl up. One more of those. And then as we lay the head and shoulders down, just notice how heavy those parts of your body are. And let them be heavy as you release the right foot down and the left foot down. Walk your feet nice and wide, your knees wide. Relax your arms and hands wherever they like to be. And gently just flip-flop the knees from side to side. And as I mentioned earlier to you, when you're cued with the voice to focus on a particular area of the body, that's the area you're probably noticing. But take your awareness to your hip creases as you move your legs from side to side. Well done. Then come back to the centre. Heel toe your feet a little closer. Maybe let the knees rest against each other. One hand on the belly, one hand at the heart. Or perhaps you'd like to extend your legs into full Shavasana. Nice wide view with the legs, let your feet fall out to the side. They should probably naturally do that anyway today, after what we've been focusing on with our time together. Perhaps you're aware of a spaciousness now in and around the hips themselves. More freedom of movement. And you can even create space to breathe into as you release and open the hips. So Notice the breath coming more freely into the lower abdominal area, the rib cage and the chest. Feel a spaciousness in the heart where your hand is resting. And take your attention to your mind, the space there now, the space you've created for your practice today. As you continue to rest here for as long as you need, with your open hips, open heart, and open mind. Namaste.